Welcome back. This is AM News. My name is Denisia Pomaide. In our very first story, Executive Director of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, Raymond Acha, is defending the agency's decision to set high bail conditions, saying that the approach is grounded in practical experience with major financial crimes. So, addressing the third annual National Fraud Conference, he said EOCO is unfazed by the complaints from lawyers who think the office is unsettling the traditional bail regime, insisting the agency will not soften an approach forged through years of dealing with sophisticated criminal networks. The following report has more.
Speaking at the third edition of the ACFE National Fraud Conference, EOCO Boss Raymond Acha likened bail to the collateral demanded in a risky loan, arguing that leniency gives powerful suspects every incentive to walk away without consequence. He extended that logic to economic crimes, describing situations where investigations involve losses of $90 million or more.
Bail is connected to a case. So imagine if I have a case of 100 million, the exposure or the risk. We do a lot of investigation for the banks, for example, where somebody has stolen $90 million. And then you catch the suspect, then you give him a bail of $20 million. So he has 90 million, you give him a bail of 20 million. He's looking left, he's looking right. Look, the person who stood surety for me, your exposure is 20 million. I'm giving you 25 million. I'm gone.
Executive Director of Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Ibrahima, lamented the growing trend of powerful individuals and companies using lawsuits to intimidate investigative journalists. He called for stronger state commitment to fighting corruption and greater public support for accountability journalism.
Almost every big story we have done, somebody has taken us to court. And it takes some amount of resilience to say, yes, but let's continue. Yeah, even though you are in court. Last week, Tuesday, I was in court, for the appeals case. Maybe the next day you are there, the lawyer say, oh, this case is on this date. You either, even the emotional thing of being in court all the time for wanting to save or support your country is something that is quite difficult. But in some countries, they've made anti-SLAPP legislations where you cannot just go to court on a flimsy excuse.
Meanwhile, the Executive Director of Transparency International Ghana, Mary Ada, says whistleblowing remains critical because corruption is usually concealed between two offenders who both benefit and won't report themselves.
Why do we think whistleblowing should be, the agenda should be prosecuted? Because I said that in many of the instances we decide to keep quiet and then we think about and reflect on our own business. Whistleblowing is important because the fight against corruption would be the better for it.
Economic advisor to the president, Seth Tekpe, and other experts were all present at the third edition of the ACFE National Fraud Conference, which was under the theme, Empowering Ethical Leadership and Accountability, the Pathway to a Corruption-Free Society.
Now, the National Women's Organizer of the NDC is making a strong push for the review of African Union's Agenda 2063. The Aspiration 6 of the framework aims at creating a continent where development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially its women and children. However, speaking at the 2025 Africa Women Conference in Accra, Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisu Kote, who doubles as administrator for the Minerals Development Fund, says 2063 is too far a timeline to address the plight of women seeking leadership. There's more in the following report.
After its inauguration in New York some 9 years ago, the African Women Conference has championed the cause of women empowerment across the continent, and same is the story in Accra for 2025.
For 9 years, after its inauguration in New York, AWC has remained a lighthouse of hope, dialogue, and action. From Namibia to Morocco, Rwanda to Gambia, Ethiopia, Zambia, and now in Ghana, we continue to build a movement of women who are not afraid to think differently, to speak boldly, and to also lead courageously.
The African Union, in its Agenda 2063 framework, aims at creating a continent where development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially women and children. However, addressing the conference, the National Women's Organizer of the NDC, Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisi-Okote, who doubles as the administrator of the Minerals Development Fund, says the 2063 timeline must be reviewed.
That is why when I saw the campaign that is being made in Nigeria to reserve a seat for women in parliament, I fully endorsed it because it's part of what I also envisage for the Ghanaian women. I have been a member of parliament before. I've been deputy minister 8 years, member of parliament 4 years. I know what it takes for us to go to parliament. And I'm happy that I'm out of parliament now so that I can champion the cause. For no one to tell me that, oh, because you want to be there. And I'm still pushing that where we have our strongholds, all political parties, some sort of seats should be reserved for women to contest. So if you have 40 women contesting, definitely a woman will come up. But look at a woman who will be performing and you find 10 men ganging up, contesting her in the primaries and taking her out. That is something that I fully endorse, but I'm going to push and champion for the review of your 2063 for total equality is too far. I still take it as some of the speeches, the tokenism, the documents to let women feel that something is being done. We are more than the men in Africa. It's the women who make men take positions.
Meanwhile, at the national level, Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Agnes Na Momolate, reveals that plans are underway to develop a national gender policy that will mainstream women empowerment.
Again, the ministry has taken steps to develop the 2025 to 2034 National Gender Policy. This policy seeks to create equal opportunities for all by mainstreaming gender equality and women's empowerment concerns into the national development agenda.
Participants at this year's forum are hopeful of forging new pathways for Africa's sustainable development through women empowerment. Les Ogan's report for JoyNews, Accra.
Let me now take you to the Volta region. The Ministry of Works and Housing is continuing its inspection of ongoing project sites to ensure timely completion. On day 2 of the tour, the minister visited the Blekusu Sea Defense Project in the Volta region. Works and Housing Minister Kenneth Gilbert Ejay expressed deep satisfaction with the progress made since the project began 6 months ago.
The second day of his inspection of ongoing projects, the Minister for Works and Housing, Kenneth Gilbert Ejay, visited the Blekusu Sea Defense Project in the Volta region. He expressed strong satisfaction with the pace of work and shared his excitement with the media while urging the contractor to maintain the momentum to bring much-needed relief to residents.
I must say that I am impressed about what is going on here because I've been receiving payment certificates in the office. I've been asking myself, is the work really going on like the way these payment certificates keep coming? And I decided that today I'll pay a visit to ensure that whatever payment certificate that comes to my office to be signed, the actual work has been done. And truly, I've come to see that the work is really going on.
Volta Regional Minister James Gunu also urged the contractor to prioritize the auxiliary facilities of the project before moving on to the more complex structures.
I want to also appeal to the contractors. Yes, we appreciate the work they are doing. There are some auxiliary facilities that comes with this whole project. They can start those ones at the same time, so that the community will benefit from those auxiliary facilities like the cold store, the market, and so on and so forth. You know, they need not to wait. I know they have the capacity to deliver on those other projects.
Project Director of Amandi Limited, Ahood Derry, briefed the minister on the ongoing works at the site and outlined the tasks that remain to be completed.
Because of the situation on the site, we are not as we planned before to work on each groin. We are working on 4 or 5 groins in the same time. So if you remember when we was here before a few months, the line of the beach, the water was in the road. Today, this area that we are working on six groin, here we are now standing on groin number 1. We can see here number 2, 3, and until 6. We are working, the equipment is on the 3 in the same time.
The visit highlights the government's commitment to ensuring timely completion of critical infrastructure projects, promising improved safety and relief for the residents of the Volta region. Mama Visafa Kote's report, read to you.
Away from the Volta region, the municipal chief executive for Wassa Amenfi East in the Western region, Raymond Nana Eba, has cut sod for the construction of a 3-unit classroom block for the Ekropon A School in a move aimed at easing severe classroom congestion in the community. Speaking at the ceremony, the MCE outlined additional development projects, including a new CHIPS compound and 30 mechanized boreholes, explaining that President Mahama's resetting agenda prioritizes improved education, healthcare and access to potable water. He assured residents that Wassa Amenfi East will receive its fair share of these critical interventions.
Students at Ekropon A School in the Wassa Amenfi East municipality of the Western region, the prospect of a new classroom is a hope for an improved educational environment. The municipal chief executive for the area, Raymond Nana Eba, shared that cutting sod for a 3-unit classroom block for the school follows the assembly receiving its share of the district assembly's common fund. He added that there are plans to construct a CHIPS compound and 30 boreholes for communities in the municipality.
As part of President Mama's resetting agenda, Amenfi East were able to have our own share. I think that is the common fund. We had 3-unit classroom block, and then 2 a KG, and then 6-unit classroom block. We're also going to construct a chip compound. That's 2 chip compounds. And today, what we had was, what we had was the KG block, the 3-unit classroom, and then construction of the boreholes. That was what we had today.
He also shares a vision of having a legacy project, one that will cement his name in the history books of the Wassa Amenfi municipality.
My expectation is to have my name because I want to have a legacy project, something that Wassa Amenfi East will mention my name, and then they will say this is what Obi Abedi did. So I'm going to construct a mini stadium. So that's one thing that I'm going to do, so that I will have my name too on this Wassa Amenfi East project. That's one thing that is in my mind. I'm just urging my people in Wassa Amenfi East to support me, and then so to support President Mahama. We are having this advocacy this Saturday, so I'm urging everyone to participate or support this advocacy so that we raise this Amenfi East.
Florence Abua, the municipal education director, while lauding the efforts of the MCE, called for more support, including posting more teachers to the area.
They've cut the sword. I'm part of it. And I know that they are going to construct the building for the children. They are moving the B school to this place. It's a laudable idea. So from the MP and the MC, they are doing their part. What we need in Wassa Amenfi is teachers. And for teachers to understand it cuts across. So as and when they come, we'll accept them. That's the only challenge. But for them, they are doing their part.
From Wassa Amenfi East, Abigail Lesolin-Kroma reports for JoyNews.
From the Western region, let me take you to the Central region. Former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, Professor Emmanuel Ado-Obing, is calling for firmer regulations to guide how Ghanaian media influences religious practice. Speaking at a roundtable discussion on the expression of religion in public spaces at the University of Cape Coast, Professor Obeng expressed some deep concern about the increasing mental vulnerability of citizens due to unregulated religious content on radio and television. He urged authorities to strengthen oversight and introduce tighter controls to protect the public from misleading, exploitative, or harmful religious broadcasts.
The second event of the UCC Department of Religion and Human Values Roundtable discussion on religion and other human rights was on the theme, Expression of Religion in Public Spaces, Does the Law Matter? In his address, the Presidential Envoy in charge of interfaith and ecumenical bodies, Elvis Ifriye Ankra, described the law as a framework guiding religion.
The law is not an enemy of religion. It is a framework that protects it. When we discuss religion in public spaces, from educational institutions to workplaces, from the media to political discourse, the question is not whether the law restricts faith, but how it ensures that the faith expressions contribute to order, inclusivity, and the common good. Our courts, regulatory bodies, and policymakers must continue to interpret and apply the law in ways that balance freedom with fairness, faith with function, and belief with belonging.
Guest of honor and Central Regional Minister EOCO Boss questioned whether tertiary education curriculum can be adjusted to accommodate diverse religious beliefs.
Is it possible to also have a curriculum that would take care of this situation from every level of our education, where people will not only come to university and study African religious study? It will not be enough.
The head of the Department of Religion at the University of Ghana, Professor Rosemary Amega Itigo, criticized religious leaders who, under the guise of religious practices, commit sexual offenses.
And we've seen that in several social media platforms where people harass women, sleep with women because they want to take the devil from them or the evil from them. So religion has these opportunities, the moral values, but we shouldn't think everybody has that moral value that will save and protect the vulnerable. The vulnerable are still at risk, and we must all be careful and be protective and not be gullible and think that the religious space is a safe space.
Former Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, Professor Emmanuel Ado-Obeng, called for regulations on how the media projects religious practices.
Our citizens are now appearing as if we're not critical thinkers. It's all because of the kind of things we hear on radio stations, the kind of things we hear on the TV stations, especially from these religious groups which have set up their TV and radio stations. So we need to control what they put out, or we need to regulate that. We need to protect our citizens against some of these excesses.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Lisal-Nkoma reports for JoyNews.
It's now time for some business news, and of course, the Ahanta Pele, Samuel Kujibris, will bring you that shortly.
Hello, let's do business updates now by starting from what's happening on the currency market. To the Minister and GPP2 project focal point, the Ministry of Energy, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, has announced that a value for money audit will be conducted as the government considers a state-led takeover of Springfield Exploration and Production Limited's stake in the West Cape 3 Point Block 2. According to him, the audit aims to assess whether the proposed takeover aligns with the country's interest and provides value for money. Dr. Sulemana spoke to Joy Business.
Yeah, so nobody will take field without doing that. And if you look at the release, it clearly mentioned that even though Springfield may produce a data, so you see, if somebody is selling out something to you, he will certainly give you a data to analyze. So, I mean, government is leaving nothing to chance. And that is why if you look at the release, like I mentioned, there's going to be a value for money audit. When I say value for money audit, it's not the normal audit. It's a transactional advisory body and a consultant with the state-of-art technology and the technical know-how to be able to assess what Springfield has, whether it is worth what we're going to take or not. So yes, it's not just going to be taken on the face value or on top of the table. There's going to be a due diligence that's going to be done to make sure that, I mean, the asset is valued as it is. Other than that, anything short of that, then we might not be doing ourselves good. But it's good that the release mentioned that, yes, that's going to be done. And that's certainly going to be done and to ensure that we have value for money.
Away from that, country senior partner at PwC Ghana, Vish Ashagbo, has described the 2026 budget as satisfactory. Speaking to Joy Business on the sidelines of the PwC Post-Budget Forum in Accra, Mr. Ashagbo said the policy document provides a balanced approach to sustaining economic stability while supporting growth. He, however, said there is still more work to be done to strengthen key sectors of the Ghanaian economy.
We think that it's broadly satisfactory. Of course, what's happening now is there's a bill that's being under consideration by Parliament. So we wait to see the final details of the act. But you know, the thrust of the whole reform effort, based on what the business community has been telling us, is that we want the system to be simplified. You know, a lot of the time it's not that people don't want to comply, it's because the systems get so complicated that it makes compliance difficult to achieve. So yes, we think it's a step, a very big step in the right direction, in that if this can be passed into law, then there'll be greater transparency, greater simplification of the system, which will also encourage better compliance and hopefully more revenue. Well, I think he said that they would be working closely with businesses. And when I say businesses, you know, sometimes when we mention businesses, our mind goes to the big corporates. But I think he referred to the whole spectrum of businesses, from small and medium-sized businesses all the way to the larger corporates. And he said the GRA would be working with businesses to facilitate implementation. And I think that's very important because, again, from our experience as a firm, as a professional services firm, a lot of people, most people in fact, do want to comply, but sometimes just lack of understanding or lack of requisite knowledge or skills sometimes become impediments. So we're very happy to hear that beyond the legislation being effective in January,
Well, that's how we conclude the news update. But we'll do that with what's happening on the commodities market, and after which Boma will come up and wrap up for us.
And that's it for AM News. But if you want more news, Manja Online has got you sorted. My name is Denise Apomaide. Up next is sports.